see you, pal. You're looking well.
I was just to say that. He's looking well, isn't he?
Looking very well. Not bad for 35, Les.
I wish. You can more than double that, I'm afraid.
Oh, listen, pal, it's not every day we have what I would class as a City legend coming on to talk to him. We have spoke to some. No, the City legend's coming on later. We'll talk to you for a moment. No, listen, pal, and we've spoke to some utter City legends on our time at Manchester is Blue, and I'm so happy. You can probably tell by the smile on my face to be able to have an opportunity to talk to you. Do you know how much you're loved by City fans? You must have an inkling about this.
Have they still heard of me, some of them?
Of course they have.
Oh, absolutely, pal. Absolutely. No, it's an honour to have you on the show. Thanks very much. We're going to talk about a few things. A bit about your career. You played a lot more football games than what people give you credit for in the league. So I want to talk a little bit about that, if that's all right, and how you came into the ranks at City. Because it seems like a bizarre segue for somebody of your calibre, for a few years in management as well. Saying that, if the management time, it might have just wanted you to get away from that and get back into working alongside the players better. But absolutely,
yeah. I mean, I never really had any great ambitions about being a manager at all, and I was made caretaker manager at Rochdale when I played at Rochdale in my later playing years, when Jimmy Greenough got the sack. So probably because I was the oldest in the dressing room, and probably because I was one that probably had about 7 functioning brain cells at the time. So they put me in charge till the end of the season. And then the same thing happened at Stockport when Colin Murphy left to go to Saudi Arabia, I think it was. They put me in charge then. So. And then at Preston, of course, when John McGrath got sacked, I was assistant manager and player with John McGrath, and then he got sacked and I took over for a couple of seasons. But I never really had any great ambitions at all about being a manager. It's a tough job, especially at that level, where a club like Preston, where the expectancy is still brilliant because it's got a great tradition and history as Preston. But you've no money, you have to rely on free transfers, so it's hard work. And I never really adjusted from being a player. I was probably still a player when I was a manager, having fun and doing stupid stuff most of the time.
That's the stories I'm here for.
Yeah, we're all here for the juicy bits, Les. But before we get into that, I can understand why you'd still have that mentality of a player. 747 appearances in the Football League over 22 seasons. You must have had some fantastic highs and some terrible lows during that time.
Probably more lows than highs. Yeah, that's just league games. I mean, if you put all the cup games on top of that, and not that I ever got past the 5th round in the cup, but if you put all the cup games and pre-season friendlies and tour games, and plus the fact that I played in America all one summer in 1978, so it's probably hovering around 1,000 games. But highs, I got promotion with Huddersfield, with Bradford, and with Preston. But also got relegated 2 seasons in Huddersfield. We got relegated 2 seasons on the trot. So yeah, it's been a mixed bag of highs and lows. But we did have 2 seasons at Huddersfield in the top division. It was the first division then, before the Premier League. And at one time, I was an honorary member of the '92 club, which is I played on every ground in the Football League.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Wow. Right. Okay. That's quite a rarity.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't count now because I haven't played at places like Wickham and clubs that have actually come into the league recently. But yeah, at one time, '92 club.
Crikey, Charlie. So how did you get over to America then? That was San Jose, wasn't it? Looking at your
San Jose Earthquakes. Yeah.
Yeah. How did that come about?
Well, there was a lad called Ian Wood who I played with at Oldham Athletic who knew this guy called Ken Bracewell, who was working as a coach in America, and he actually got him to go to San Jose Earthquakes. He'd been to Denver Dynamos a couple of years before, so he had this connection with America. And San Jose started the season pretty poorly, so the manager at the time, a Yugoslavian called Garbo Gavrich asked Woody if there was anybody at Oldham that would fancy coming out at such a late date. So he got in touch with me because he knew I wanted to go and play in America during the summer, and a lot of players from Europe did go and play in America at that time.
Yeah, yeah.
It stopped after '79 so much because if you got in the playoffs in America, you missed the start of the European seasons. The seasons overlapped, so after '78 they stopped it really. But anyway, that was the connection. Ian Wood got me over to. He got in touch with him. Jimmy Frizzell, who was the manager at Oldham at the time. He made me sign my contract for the following season, and then allowed me to go to America. But it was just an amazing 4 months of my life.
Oh, I can imagine it, rightly. So you've always, apart from that stint overseas, you're not going to get much further away from Oldham, are you? If you tried, to be fair.
Oldham to San Jose.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, that's a hell of a book, that, Les. You've always been around the northwest. There's always been an affinity here. Have you ever had the opportunity to move further afield? I had a stint over in Yorkshire as well, but have you always been a home bird for the northwest?
Yeah, not particularly because I've wanted to. I mean, when I got released from Oldham, a Torquay came in for me. Who were in the bottom division anyway. So I think I asked for a ridiculous amount for the signing on fee, knowing that they would refuse. So, but that's about as near as I've come to. Oh, and I think I had an opportunity to go to New Zealand once, but it wasn't particularly great money, so I declined. I would have definitely gone further afield if asked to. Yeah, for sure.
So who did you support growing up then as football? Who was your love?
The first professional football game I went to was Bolton Wanderers. Not that I was a fan of Bolton Wanderers. I'm an older boy, born and bred. So if any team I supported would have been Oldham Athletic.
Yeah, yeah.
Indeed, which was my first professional club. But I would have always had a preference for City as opposed to United.
Good, great answer. You know you had to give that one, didn't you? You knew that straight away. Speaking of that, did you ever have the opportunity to play for City?
Well, when I came as reserve team manager in '92, I actually played in the reserves.
Did you really?
We played at Liverpool one day with people like Steve Lomas and Gary Flitcroft and people like that were playing in the reserves. And Tony Buck used to help me a bit with the reserves, and this particular occasion we're playing at Anfield, and Skip said, "Why don't you have a game? You know, you've got the experience, and we're a bit short of players. Why don't you have a game?" So I played sweeper with Steve Lomas and Gary Flitcroft in front of me, and I always put my success, Robbie Fowler's success, down to me because he played in that game, and I think he was just 16. He might have been 50, but I think he was just 16. And they beat us 5-1, and he got a hat trick. So I always take a lot of credit for setting him off on his career.
Give him that confidence boost that he needed, obviously, to go on to the next step. I like that.
Yeah.
So,
Les, you know when you said then that Tony Buck helped you out, when you say helped you out, did he tell you what team to play and everything, or Warwick?
No.
I've heard some rumours. He was a very tough manager and tough reserve.
He's a lovely man. I think for players at the time who played under him would probably say that. He was very competitive. I mean, for a man to turn professional at the age that he did and be so successful at a top club that he did says a lot about the character of the man.
Yeah.
When I first went to City, he'd obviously had a lot of experience in the top flight, and he was just brilliant with me.
All right.
And he, as I say, he helped me a lot when I was taking the reserves.
I mean, I've met him a couple of times now myself, and he is a nice guy. But like you say, when you hear about people coming through the reserves, they always say he was a tough manager. But do you know what? That's how you have to breed them back then. It was tough reserve football. It's not like it is now. It's like you met a man of you, didn't you? So
Yeah, there was actually physical contact allowed in those days.
Oh, let's talk about you finishing your football career. You moved on to management, and there's that area I want to talk about of how you came into the job at City. How did that come about? Because you were with us for years. I just needed to understand how that came about in the first place.
How did I get to City in the first place?
Yeah.
When I was at Preston North End and I took over as manager in 1990, I bumped into Peter Reid, who we used to see now and again socially, and he was the manager at City. And it was about, I think it would probably be about 91. And he said to me, look, I've got a position open at City. I want a reserve team coach. And I know you've got a great opportunity at Preston and it could be a really good job for you. But I know what management's like at that level. He says it's pretty tough. He says, and if things don't work out, I'll keep the job open till October of that season. And I got sacked in September at Preston. So I got in touch with Reedy. He says, yes, come down, we'll have a chat. And in the meantime, Sam Ellis, who was his coach at the time at City, said to me, come dressed up in one of your characters. So I'm walking through the car park at Platt Lane was the training ground then. I'm walking through the car park there in this most ridiculous suit I'd got at an Oxfam shop with a flat cap. And I'm walking through the car park to the pitch where the first team were training. And Peter Reid, in his civilian gear, was walking towards me. I think he'd been to Scotland on a scouting trip and just got back. So he said, all right, son? And I said, Reedy, it's me. And he said, oh, I'm coming back watching this. So I went to the side of the pitch, pretending to be a total half-wit, watching the first team train, and only Reedy and Sam Ellis knew it was me. And I was like, if the ball went out to play, I'd just do the most ridiculous run to pick it up and throw it like an imbecile. And then Terry Darracott, who was the youth team coach at the time, came over to watch the first team. His kids had finished. So Reedy must have said to him, look, he shouldn't be here watching training. This is private property. Can you tell him to leave the premises? So Terry Darracott came over to me and I think he must have felt a bit sorry for me when he saw me. So he said, what's your name, son? And for some bizarre reason, I just came out with Swift, Billy Swift. So he obviously then started feeling more and more sorry for me. And he said, what are you doing on here? I said, I've lost my dog. So this went on for about 5-10 minutes. And then the first team finished training and Steve McMahon came over to me and said, right, me and you are going to have a race. So we stood on the touchline. He says, right, we're going to sprint to the other side. He said, 3, 2, 1, go. So I've gone, and he's not moved. So all the lads are booing at him and everything. Anyway, he gets back. So we set off again, and I beat him. So then I walked back to the stadium, and then Reedy asked Terry Darracott to come up into his office, and I was just sat there. Terry Darracott knew me, but obviously he didn't recognise me. And then he started just laughing when he realised it was me. And then the other thing, they promised me a car, City, and I'd gone 3 weeks without a car. And I used to go into Peter Reid's office virtually every day and say, is there anything happening with the car? Anyway, he sent for me one day, so I got up to his office and he said, your car's outside. So he threw this bunch of keys at me. So I've looked at these keys and I've seen the registration on the fob. So I've gone outside, and at one time all the players and staff used to park the cars at Main Road outside the main entrance. So I'm wandering up and down the car park looking at all these cars and the registration numbers. I can't see, and then I get to the end and there's this car on bricks with every window smashed and every light smashed, and it's the same registration as on these keys. And all the players and the staff were hiding round the corner, and they all like appeared laughing at me. Anyway, he got me a decent car in the end.
That's brilliant.
Wait, Tom,
that was like the first 2 or 3 weeks at the club.
Tom, that was the story Jim Whitley told us.
Yeah.
It was. I thought, yeah.
That was my interview for the job.
I've just put 2 and 2 together. Of course it is. Bloody hell. That's hilarious.
I think it's brilliant. Honestly. That's why we've got you on, lads.
Oh, I tell you what, I've lost my dog.
Well, Les, what were your connection with Reedy? I don't get that. How you knew him, and like for him to say, "Well, I'm going to keep the job open."
I'd played against him so many times when he played for Bolton, and I played for Huddersfield.
Yeah.
And Oldham Athletic. I'd played against Reedy many times. Frank Worthington was a big friend of mine who I played with at Huddersfield, and Frank played at Bolton, so we used to go out quite regularly socially. So I knew Reedy pretty well, and that was the connection on a personal level.
That's good, though.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah.
And how did you end up as kitman then? When did that first kick off for you?
Right. Well, when Alan Ball came, he wanted to bring his pal's son in, which was Kevin Bond. And the only member of staff that he could get rid of without causing upset was me. Because he couldn't really get rid of Colin Bell. He was a legend. Asa Hartford, another legend at the club. And the only other one available to get rid of was me. So, in fact, he blamed it on his wife. His wife said that she's looked out of the window at Platt Lane watching us train, and I was fighting with Jim Bentley, who was a young centre half at the time. I think he's been manager of Morecambe since, and I think he's manager at Field now. I think he is. But we were just play fighting, messing about, you know. So anyway, he got rid of me. And I got a job with Brian Horton at Huddersfield Town as youth team coach. And then after 10 months, Brian Horton got the sack, and the manager who came in, Peter Jackson, wanted every one of his staff out the building, so we all got sacked. But in the meantime, Ronnie Evans, who was a physio at City didn't have a kit man, by the way, then. Tony Buck did most of that, and Ronnie Evans, one of the physios. So Ronnie kept going on to Joe Royal to get me in to do the kit. So in the end, Joe phoned me up. He said, "Look, I've got a job here. It's all the kit, man, but I had a mortgage. I had 2 kids. I had no job. So I jumped at it. And that's how I got back to City as the kit man in '97.
Just you're saying that like, oh, it's only kit man, but as an ex-pro and ex-manager and all that, you must have just loved being in that dressing room, and what comes with that, as in the banter, the lads, and you must have thought, well, this is I'm going to get paid for just having a laugh. I know you still work, but you're going to still be in that environment.
Absolutely. The best job in any football club is a player, right? After that, the second best job in a football club is a kit man, I think. Because I always class myself not just as supplying them with kit, but I'd do errands for them. I'd give them advice because I'd played football for so long. I knew a bit about the game, and they'd ask me certain things, and I'd help them out. And I've been on holiday with loads of them on many occasions. So you got into a position of trust.
Yeah.
They trusted you with things. And you weren't leaving them out of the team. You weren't dropping them. Not like a coach or a manager, who picks the team. I was just doing everything I possibly could, physically and mentally, for every player in that dressing room. So, and like you say, you have the banter, you have the fun. and you're not having to make. Obviously, there's a responsibility with the job because you can't forget things, which is another story, by the way. But yeah, you get to form great relationships with players. I've text Collar off today. I hadn't realised he'd gone to Inter Milan. he was the last time I saw him was in Rome. So, yeah. But I keep in touch with quite a few ex-players from that time and up to recently.
Well, I've just got a couple of things to jump in here, right? I always thought that was the second best job to have at a football club. That is why, Les, I said to Tom earlier, I might have been 17, but now I think of it, I might have been 21 when I emailed the club and asked to be your assistant. And then I put in the email, if I can't be Les's assistant, I'll be his assistant's assistant.
I don't think I had one at the time.
So yeah, I've probably been about. So yeah, I'm 30 now. It's about 9 years ago.
Do you know what, Dan? You missed a trick there. You should have gone to Oxfam, got a really rubbish suit, a flat cap, and showed up at the front door. You missed a trick there, pal. Wait for Chappy.
Absolutely.
So,
you would have qualified immediately for the job.
You know when you're saying about, like, obviously, I listen to a load of ex-players, and we've had ex-players on and that, and like what's happened with Dzeko now? Dzeko's falling out with the Roma manager, and he's training on his own and all that. Yeah.
Oh,
that's what I mean. So, in that situation, you would have been his go-to, wouldn't you? If he's not allowed to train with, he's not allowed to train with kids, you'd have probably been his only outlook.
Yeah, that's poor.
With that, Chappy, would you have ever said anything to a manager, or is that too far above? Are you just a player's guy? Do you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely depends on the manager.
Right.
If it should have been Joe Royle, Brian Horton, possibly Sven.
What a guy.
Peter Reid, obviously. Yeah, then I would have probably said something in a discreet and proper manner. I mean, I wouldn't have gone raving and ranting and stuff like that, but I would always say to people who I thought I could speak to what my opinion was. I can remember getting Andy Morrison to the club because Joe Royle asked all his staff in for a meeting one day, and he said, look, we've got a good team, but we need somebody at the back. We need a leader, somebody who talks, somebody who organises. And I knew that Andy Morrison, because I've been at Huddersfield, I knew Andy Morrison was available because he'd thrown the manager's desk on the manager in a row. And I knew he was available. So that's when Joe said, OK, so we signed Andy Morrison. So things like that have happened. But there are certain managers that you would never even dream about saying anything to.
I'm guessing Roberto Mancini is being one of them.
Possibly is the name there, yes.
You can confirm or deny it, don't worry.
Who are the best managers you work for? I know you've just rattled off. Like,
best managers as in a manager, or best manager as in a bloke?
As in a bloke, someone that you really got on with, apart from Peter.
Oh, wait, Tom.
Yeah, go on.
Better one.
Go on.
Right. You're going on a night out, you only can take 5 managers you've worked
for.
Right.
5 managers?
Yeah.
I'd say Joe Royle, Brian Horton, Peter Reid, definitely Sven.
Why is that, Les? Why would he take Sven?
Hans Spack used to tell me they would go in a restaurant in Manchester. Hans Spack was Sven's assistant. And they'd go in a restaurant in Manchester and it'd be empty. And in 10 minutes, it'd be packed. And there'd be models giving Sven the card. If you're ever in London, give me a ring. Come and see me.
What a guy.
As a physical specimen, he was nothing at all to look at. He had hair that started halfway up his head, just a bit at the back. Mm. He had a pot belly. He had teeth like a burnt-out village. But he was the most charming man you could possibly meet. He's the only manager, when he got the sack, we played at Middlesbrough away and we lost 8-1.
Yeah.
And
I remember.
Richard Dunn got sent off, and we all knew that Shinawatra was sacking him. And Richard Dunn stood up in the dressing room and he says, on behalf of all the players and all the staff at this football club, I just want to say it's been an absolute privilege and a pleasure to have worked with you for the last couple of seasons. We're devastated that you're leaving, and we wish you all the best for future, whatever you do. I've never seen a player stand up in the dressing room and say that about a manager ever.
Well, I mean, that City team was like, obviously we've gone on to do bigger and better things, but for me as a fan, that was like the first time we were like threatening to be a force in the Premier League.
I think we were top at Christmas.
Yeah, and then that was just, to get rid of him, it was just bananas. And then he took him to Thailand, didn't he?
We went to Thailand for a week after that, yeah. Oh, yeah. He was still going on that trip, even though he knew he was going.
Yeah, I heard Valerie Bodjanoff ordered a KFC to bench. When they were on bench against one of these Thai teams, yeah. We had to deliver him a KFC.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all. The players loved him, absolutely loved him. I mean, as a coach, he's not the best coach in the world. He's not the best motivational speaker in the world. I don't know whether he would pass a coaching course or whatever, but it didn't matter. The lads just loved him. He would talk to the chairman and the laundry lady exactly the same. He was just a gentleman.
You see, that's probably international football will probably his thing, because then the lads are going for this like 2-3 weeks. If the manager's a laugh and all that's, I mean, we probably should have won something under him, but that's probably why he was an international manager. And I mean, like I say, I liked Sven, and he was very hard done to by the club.
Well, he's won the title in about 4 or 5 different countries, I think, hasn't he?
Yeah. But, I mean, that must have been there's so much you've given us already, Les. I don't know where to go. Do we talk about Shinawatra and that mad time? Or, like, when you were coaching for Reedy? I don't know where to go with it.
You can't. There's a lot of stories about Sven. I can't tell you, of course.
Yeah, how's the book coming on?
Yeah, people keep saying that you want to write a book, but I don't know.
Oh, I think there's a lot of people that buy that, pal. There's a lot of people. We'd definitely plug it for you for a free copy, of course.
I could write a book on Mario Balotelli. I think.
We've got. We'll talk about Mario in a minute. When you know, being in the position you were in for the management changeovers, and you mentioned about the players already knew about Sven leaving before the fans. How does that work then? Is it just the rumours start circulating before you know it, everyone knows it and it's actual truth, or how does that start? How does the rumour mill start internally in a football club?
Well, you don't really find out internally any more than you do as an outsider, really, because it all comes through media. And I mean, the media put so much pressure on managers; they get people the sack sometimes. Yeah. Like, the results haven't been great. They've only won 2 in the last 8 games and things like that. So you can see a natural build-up as to what they're getting to. Plus the fact that I think owners have got a lot to answer for in the massive turnaround in managers at football clubs. I don't know how much research they do with each individual person they employ as a manager, but I look at some employments of managers at certain clubs and I think, well, why would you take him on when he's done this at this club and that at that club? And I find it bizarre, really. But I think I think if you had a really competent person in a recruitment position in a football club, i.e. picking the managers, I think then you have a better chance of getting a manager who could be there for the longer term at least.
Mm. I've got one for you, Les, because you're probably the most recent guest we've had on that's been in the dressing room with social media about. How much is that going on in players' heads? Do you know, like, the trending, like, oh, he's crap, he's shit, he did rubbish. Does that affect the players, or do you ever read something and think, well, that's just like a load of shit? Do you know what I mean? Sorry for swearing.
Well, I think social media really has took off since I've packed in the kit job. I finished the kit job in 2014, and I think in the last 6 years, social media has rocketed. You know,
yeah.
Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, all this, Facebook. I mean, it wasn't as prevalent then as it is now, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, I'm not on Instagram. I only went on Twitter because when I worked for City TV, I had to use Twitter at the time. But I'm not on Instagram or Facebook or one or two of these other things. But I know that the players are, and I know that they use social media quite a lot. Although I think with Pep, they probably, I think certainly people like Mendy have been restricted in how much they put it out on social media.
Yeah.
I think at one time he used to be, because he's a real character, is Mendy.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, I've not been a professional footballer, and I can imagine, like, if you're in a football stadium, there's 60,000 fans saying you're shit. It's probably water off a duck's back. If some bloke on internet.
Well,
saying
it is to some players, but not to others. Everybody's different, and everybody reacts to different stimuli, and that's the beauty of being a very, very good manager, knowing what motivates a player, whether it's putting your arm around him or giving him a rocket. You know, those are key things in management.
I suppose, though, I'm guessing you helped in that, though, Les, didn't you? If there were a player a bit down, you having a chat with him, helping him out, like you were saying earlier. Absolutely. I always thought of my job as more than just supplying kit. And I'd once dressed up as Santa Claus and drove to Hale Barnes from Saddleworth, where I live, as Father Christmas, to be Father Christmas for Antoine Sibierski's kids. Imagine if I'd have broke down or something.
Les, I want to know about, because you were, as us as City fans, and you were in the heart of the dressing room. What's it like to prepare the squad for a cup final and all the stuff that comes with it? Is it like every other away game where you get everything together? Tell me, because this is a massive occasion. Do you do anything differently? Tell me about your routine of what you do on a cup final preparation day.
Well, I suppose the difference of being in a cup final is the fact that it's at Wembley. So you've got a huge stadium, huge dressing room, and the realisation that it is a major game. Kit-wise, probably exactly the same preparation as every other game. It's just the fact, it's just the stigma that it is a cup final, it is a bit more special, but kit-wise, it's the same. You just have to make sure all 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pairs of boots for each players are there. And
come on! There's something to tell us there, isn't there? You're itching at something here. What have you missed?
Well, I think with foreign players coming in, and the more money that's come into football clubs, more and more different things have come into football clubs, more and more items of kit. I can remember Sean Wright-Phillips, when he first got in the team, he probably would have worn 2 left boots. And we ended up taking about 12 and 13 pairs to every away game for him, because you didn't know which one he'd want. But Peter Schmeichel was the funniest, the fussiest probably player of all. He would arrive at the ground and give me his gloves, his goalkeeping gloves, and I would have to hide them. And he said, I don't want anybody to see these. anybody to find these, and I had to produce them about 40 seconds before he went out for the match. And I've physically seen him looking round to see if he could find them before, and he found them once, and I got a right hammering.
What a strange thing.
And then he used to have 3 new vests every game, because he said when they were washed, they shrank and they didn't fit him. And he'd have a new kit for the warm-up, a new kit for the first half, and a new kit for the second half. And he'd have a 9.5 boot on one foot and 10.5 on the other.
Is that right?
What a weird guy.
He's the first person, really, who started swapping shirts and taking his shirts.
Is that right? So is it your responsibility as kitman to provide the food and drink afterwards, whether it's a celebration or a commiseration, or is that somebody else to deal with?
No. The 17 staff get changed now at a City match. 17 staff. When I first started, there was. In fact, I asked Tony Buck this about last year, year before. I interviewed him about something, and I asked him how many players and staff went to an away game when you were involved, when he was a coach. He said, "Well, there'd be 11 players and 1 sub, me, the manager, and the physio, about 15 in total." That's players and staff. Now the 17 staff get changed.
Crikey.
It's crazy.
But yeah, cup final, exactly the same preparation. I'm sure the players have a different mentality as far as the cup final's concerned, compared to the majority of games. Obviously, there's that more excitement, more anticipation, more nerves. But it never really drifted down to my level. I just prepared exactly the same as any other game.
And tell me about an open top bus parade, Chappy, because you must have been on one in your time at City.
The what?
An open top bus parade with the trophy parade around Manchester. Tell me, how does that happen? What happens there?
That's just amazing. I mean, I think I've done it a couple of times now, and the turnout in the centre of Manchester was just the hairs on your back of your neck stand up when I think about it. It was just absolutely amazing journey, just amazing. And then you spot somebody you know in the crowd, or as somebody has climbed up a lamppost and they'll shout to you, and somebody hanging out of a bedroom window or an office window, and you catch their eye and they wave to you. It's just the most.
That's amazing.
God knows what it's like for a player. It must be the most fantastic feeling ever.
That's amazing.
The adulation they get, and it's just staggering. What an incredible career now, especially now because of all the money as well. But the adulation and especially when like that, when you win something, you're parading through the town and all the fans are there. Sensational.
Well, while we're on about feelings and sensations, what was the Aguero moment like?
Well, that was a bizarre set of emotions for me, really, because at that time there were that many of Mancini's cronies on the bench. I couldn't really get a seat on the bench every game. So that particular game, I was watching it on the telly in the players' lounge, watching it on the television in the dressing room, and coming up through the tunnel, watching it pitch side. So I was in 3 different places throughout the game. And in that last 10, 15 minutes, I must have been in all 3 places about 20 times each. And then when Edding equalised, I think I was in the dressing room then. And then when the Aguero moment, I'd actually seen it in the dressing room or the players' warm-up area on the television, and then sprinted up the tunnel. And it was like the contrast in emotions in the matter of a minute were just probably nothing that anybody there will never experience again, I don't think.
I was there. I was literally thinking I'm willing to fill a QPR fan in here to then ask him, throwing my shirt at him, going, "We love you."
It was remarkable. But then after all the euphoria of the moment and the joy for the club and the players and everybody, then I thought, oh no, Mancini's going to be here again for another season.
Was he that bad? Was he? Tell us about the worst moments of Mancini, lads. What was he like as a guy?
I can't really say this. It goes out this on air, doesn't it?
We can bleep it.
I tell you what, mate. I had this vision of Mancini, and instead of you slagging him off, but you can just tell me I'm right or wrong. I thought he came in and just like bossed people about to get us the title, and he's like your headmaster. He's a bit strict, but he's going to win us something. Or what he was. I mean, Wayne Bridge has absolutely slated him recently on a podcast, saying he's worst manager he's ever known. He were a bully.
Who said that?
Wayne Bridge.
Wayne Bridge.
Yeah. Look, we won the cup and we won the league with him, so I don't want to change any fans' minds that they've got an opinion about him. That's fair enough. It's just to me, I think it's better to know the truth, because I'm looking at I were at the Wigan Cup final when we lost.
Yeah, same here.
Obviously, we're all coming from up north. I booked an hotel and all that, and it was just a bad final. And everybody will point it down to, your board don't know what they're doing. They sacked Mancini, even though he's this, that, and other. But obviously, there must have been some real unrest in that dressing room, and that's the reason they got rid of him. See that don't come out to us, does it?
No, I think we all knew at the time before the game he was going.
Right.
I can't give you a reason for the performance that we did that day. I've no idea. But we all knew before the game, as I said, that he was going. Whether that had something to do with the lad's performance or whatever, I could never really put my finger on it. But when he'd gone, I was doing triple somersaults.
Do you know what? And I think that answers every question we need to ask, to be honest.
Yeah.
Listen, I want to have a chat to you about Mario in a minute, but the first one I want to talk to you about is Micah Richards, who's gone on to be one of the best pundits I've seen, just for his laugh and his intellect. And you obviously knew him and know of him and worked alongside him. What was he like? Is he always like that? He just seems to always have a smile on his face.
Always had a smile on his face. Obviously, from when he first got in the team as a very young lad, 18, he's matured. He's a lot more articulate and educated than he was when he first started. He was very raw when he first started. But he always had this incredibly infectious laugh. He always had fun. He was a great lad to be in the dressing room with. I mean, I used to do things for him, make him laugh as much as possible, just so I could hear his laugh. I mean, he was one of the greatest lads, the best lads of my absolute experience in the whole time I was there at Manchester City. And as you said, now he's gone on to be this brilliant pundit. I don't know whether have you seen the documentary on the racism thing?
Not yet. I will be watching this weekend.
I've watched that. I mean, it's just brilliant. It just brings a smile to your face every time you see him on as a pundit on Sky TV or BBC, whatever it is. It's just a pleasure to watch, and he's so genuine, so honest, and just loves life. Just a great lad.
He just seems one of these pros that you just wish everything in life would go his way, because he just seems like he deserves it. He seems like he works hard as well, which is brilliant. So he's everywhere now. You can't turn on the football station.
I know.
We're doing that, hearing him now, which is brilliant. Because City have needed that pundit. Because you're fed up with the Liverpool ones and the United ones. That time we had a Zabaleta, a Micah. You know, it's great to have these pundits being Blues coming through.
Yeah, Micah's an absolute diamond.
Les, hopefully then you can text him and tell him to answer my email or get his agent to email that. He talked about 7 times about going on this. Keep giving it custard pie.
And that's not an exaggeration either, Les. We don't half pester people. Crikey. Right, come on. Mario Balotelli. Tell me everything you have to know about Mario Balotelli, because this could make a podcast in its own. What a character!
I used to do tours of the training ground at Carrington. At the time, we trained at Carrington when Mario was there, and there used to be about 15 people on the tour, and there'd be a legend who'd take them around the stadium, whether it be Peter Barnes, Tommy Booth, Joe Corrigan. Jim Whitley's done it once or twice, I think. Asa Hartford. And then they'd be transported over to Carrington, and I would show them around the training complex. So we'd go in the medical room, we'd go in the laundry, go in the gym, and then we'd go in the dressing room, boot room, etc. And we went in the dressing room with this party. The week after, Mario had left. And I said to these people, that this is Mario's locker here. And 2 lockers on either side of Mario's were empty because nobody would change next to him. To be scared what he'd do, you see. So, anyway, I said, this is Mario's locker. Opened the door, and about 40 parking tickets fell out. And a wage slip.
Oh.
And he'd been fined by the club that month $100 grand.
Oh, sure.
He was always getting fined. He did some extra training on the training ground one day, and he used to train fully jewelled up, diamond-studded earrings and stuff, and necklaces. And he came in after they're doing this extra training. He'd been doing some crossing and heading or something, and he said, "Chappy, I've lost one of my diamond earrings." He said, "It must be on the pitch somewhere where I've been." So anyway, me and young Brandon, who was the young kitman with me at the time, sprinted out onto the pitch on our hands and knees for about an hour. Couldn't find it. But well, I told him I couldn't find it. No, I didn't. But he wasn't bothered at all. Not bothered. Everything you've read and heard and seen about him is probably all true.
Yeah, but in my eyes, right, and then you're going to tell me if it's, but I felt that your 2 relationship were like a father-son relationship, how it came across. Like, you were like looking out for him.
I was.
Like, so
I'd do anything for him. Anything.
Mate, I was just going to say then, for a player who's left all the time to go, I still check to see how he's going on.
Yeah.
And where he's at and that.
Yeah.
He's at some 2nd division club in Italy now, isn't he?
Yeah, he scored on his debut.
Yeah,
he did, yeah.
I went to interview him when he played for Nice.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it was just a pleasure to see him, and that, you know, it was just that's been on City TV, I think, on YouTube or something.
Yeah.
I meet up with him, and then I met up with him in America when he was playing for somebody else who were doing a pre-season tour, and he was with somebody else. And I bumped into him there. But the trouble is, you try to keep in touch with Mario, and he changes his phone number every week.
Yeah. Can imagine he's like that.
Just lose touch.
Too many women.
Mario isn't stupid. He's not stupid, Mario. He's very clever. He's just unpredictable. He's just the most unpredictable person you could possibly be.
But you need that in a dressing room, don't you?
He's different, and you have to have a nice blend in the dressing room. You know, you have to have probably somebody who's straight, somebody who's funny, somebody who's mad. We've had a few mad ones over the years, that's for sure. But they all enhance the dressing room. Ben Thatcher, terrible reputation on the field, but the most brilliant guy in the dressing room you could ever wish to meet. Lovely fellow.
Tom, I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah.
I literally said before it, I'd love, because I watched your interview with Thatcher, and you said he's a maniac on the pitch, but get him back over that white line, he's the nicest guy. And I wanted to ask you about that, but we'll get to Thatcher in a minute. I want to go back to Mario. One, how did the Why Always Me come about?
Well,
because apparently I had a roommate, only you two that knew about it.
Yeah. At the back of the training ground at Carrington was a little like picnic area where he used to drag around before training and have one of my fags. So I used to smoke at the time. So he'd have one of my fags and then he'd have another one. And then he said, I want to do something. I want to print something on the compression shirt, which is the shirts they wear under the shirt. I want to print something for the Derby game against United. I said, that's fine, Mario. I'll print you something up, but it can't be anything that's going to be offensive. Certainly not offending the United fans or offending anybody, really. So he came up one or two things, said, no, Mario, no, can't do that.
Can we learn what he came up with?
I can't say them.
You can swear on here, don't worry, you can swear.
They weren't appropriate, I can remember at the time. And then he came out with, what about why always me? And as soon as he said it, I thought, that is just absolutely spot on, that. And then after the game, as you know, it went global. And he says to me the next day, he says, right, get on to Umbro now. We want commission for this. They're selling it in the shops. They're selling it everywhere. Anyway, I spoke to Umbro. They said, you can't patent words, so I didn't get anything. But he made the stupid mistake of lifting his shirt over his head to expose it. If he'd just lifted it up to his chin, he wouldn't have got booked, but he got booked. And David Platt messaged from Mancini after the game. He says, I don't want you printing anything again for any player. Because he could have got sent off. He'd have got booked again, you see.
You know what, though, Chappy? Right. In a way, that was a good thing. You don't want every time Mario scores, you're getting a message out. I think, I'm not sticking up for Platt and the Mancini crew, but I think that's made it more iconic in my eyes.
Definitely. Well, as I say, it went global, didn't it?
Mm.
Yeah. Did you do one for Dzeko?
I did one for lots of players. I did one.
Well, they just obviously didn't score.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, at that time, you could print anything on them.
Right.
But,
I know we're probably going to move on, but while we're about printing, what about the David James going up front?
Bizarre, yeah, bizarre.
You knew about that as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I had to print the shirt.
And what? Why didn't you talk
I had to take that. I had to carry that shirt, pack that shirt in the kits everywhere we went, just in case it was required. And on the one particular occasion, it was.
That has been. So, did you at one point thinking this is just a piss take?
Well, no, because it came from Stuart Pearce, and he was a serious man. He didn't take the mickey normally. So when he said, "Will you do it?" I knew he was serious.
Wow.
But JMO wouldn't mind. He was mad anyway.
Yeah, JMO was mad, but wow, I was at the game.
It caused absolute mayhem in the box, JMO.
I remember Stuart Pearce has come out and said, I wanted him to get on end the ball, but he trying to take people on and stuff like that, wasn't it? It was just bananas.
There's another character, David James.
Just a bit. Fantastic artist, though, isn't he?
Yeah.
I've seen that.
Very clever lad.
Yeah.
Very bright.
Who is, if you, Dan, I'm going to use your phrase here. Pick 5 players to go to the pint with, for a pint with, Les. Who are you picking? That's a tough one, isn't it? Oh, I can see your brain working.
Richard Dunn.
In Didsbury, obviously.
Richard Dunn would have drunk about 10 pints to my one. Ben Thatcher, Kevin Horlock, Nicky Weaver. Oh, there's two. I mean, I could go on and on. We once went to Marbella at the end of the season. Me, Danny Tiato, Sean Gorter, Richard Dunn, Steve Howie, Jeff Whitley, Ian Bishop.
Yeah, I was about to say, I knew he'd be in there.
We were drinking one afternoon. We rented this villa just outside Marbella with a swimming pool and a jacuzzi in the garden. And we were drinking one afternoon, and Danny Tiato sloshed. He was sloshed. He said, "Watch this." And he sprinted up the side of the swimming pool and did a double somersault and landed feet first in the jacuzzi. Unfortunately, his momentum carried him on, and he knocked himself out on the side of the jacuzzi. There was blood everywhere.
Les, we've been told Goat didn't drink though, did he?
Goat's no steady lad. He wouldn't. You'd never see him drinking and get drunk or anything like that. No, but he'd join in with everybody.
Ian Bishop said to us, he's the only man he trusts that don't drink.
Joe Royal once took us to Lanzarote Beach Club. And he's said to, we had a meeting all together at the start of the week, and he said, right, there's a curfew at 12 o'clock. Right? 12 o'clock curfew. So the lads went out after 12 o'clock. I can remember coming round the side of the pool with a Tesco's trolley full of booze one afternoon. We'd just walked round the corner, me and Ian Bishop and Tommy Wright, I think he was. We just turned the corner and Joe Royal and Willie Donachie's walking towards us. Kevin Horlock, on Millennium morning, we trained at Manchester, at Main Road. We trained at Main Road, Millennium morning, and Kevin Horlock walked into the dressing room with a pint of vodka in his hand. And finished it before we went out training. And
that is mad.
The warm-up was 2 laps of the track, and we stuck Kevin Horlock in the middle of us and held him up as we ran round. But Joe spotted it, and he was great with him, really. I mean, he took it all in good fun. He didn't get fined or anything like that.
Hey, Les, if you're still in touch with Kevin, tell him to answer me as well, if you don't mind. But
it's brilliant, Kev. Kev's just an absolute diamond.
You know, with the drinking culture, has that completely gone out of the game, or is it that just down to the social media and camera phones? Do you reckon it's still have a drinking culture? I mean, or is it just the foreign players aren't bothered about drinking?
It's nowhere near the same nowadays. I mean, everywhere they go, they get the picture taken, they get filmed, they can't do anything stupid. I mean, like Mendy attends a party on New Year's Eve. It's out in the public eye. The week after, they just can't do much now, so much as they used to do. I think you do. They have the odd collective night out, especially after a cup final or when they've won something, to celebrate. But gone are the days where, I mean, I can remember when we trained at Carrington, 9, 8, 9, 10 of the lads used to finish training and then go off to the pub.
Yeah, about to say, I think it was Jason Beckford, were it, Tom, that told us Richard Dunn's car were in the car parking pub that long. They had to get a tree surgeons to cut it out.
Richard Dunn. What a great lad. Brilliant character. Fantastic player. And just, he was a phenomenal drinker at the time. But just... Just brilliant, brilliant lad. Bravest player I've ever seen.
Chappy, talking about captains, with your time at City, obviously Vincent's got to be high up there. Who would you rate as one of the better captains that we've had? You know, I know it's a tough one to call, granted, but
Vincent's got to be up there. A leader, an organizer, one who had respect from everyone in the team. Every player at the club respected him. As I said, great leader, great player. He would probably be up there. Richard Dunn is another one.
Les, I can't see company organising Christmas do though. That's my only downside. I think Richard Dunn gets nodded ahead of him for me.
Who organising the Christmas do?
Company. I can't see him doing that.
Listen, I'll tell you a story now. Ched Evans, do you remember Ched Evans?
Yeah.
Yes.
The season we signed Vincent Kompany, Ched Evans and Vincent Kompany changed in the same dressing room at Carrington. And Ched Evans said to me, after the Christmas, from the start of the season, Vincent Kompany had never spoke to him once. And we all went to a club in Manchester for a Christmas do. And at the end of the night, Ched Evans and Vinny were walking around with shots for the lads on trays. And they were best pals ever since that. And that was the best team bonding session for Ched Evans and Vincent Kompany that we had.
Brilliant.
Well, there you go. I think it's...
Absolutely.
I still remember, like, the last Christmas do's where you seen a bit of mad stuff going on, when they were, like, still in fancy dress, was sort of like the Mark Hughes, Mancini era, were they still doing the Christmas parties then?
Yeah.
I seem to remember them all going out with spots on them.
All going out what?
With, like, polka dot shirts and all that, old City team, they all had polka dot shirts on. That was like, man, that, but then again, like I say, now it's all got behind closed doors and that, hasn't it? So.
Yeah, well, until recently, we always had a Christmas do. Players always had a Christmas do, always. And it's only like the last few years where, you know, unless it's in a very, very private place, you just get photographed and filmed, and it's just not. It's not
right.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen anymore. Not the
I mean,
same.
I've done it myself, and then like I'm from Doncaster, so I go around Sheffield a lot, and I've seen Kyle Walker in a pub when he played for Spurs, and went up to him, got a photo with him, I'm like, "You're going to come to City one day, Kyle?" And he was like, "Oh, I don't know, mate." But he did it, so...
he likes a night out. He likes a night out, like now and again.
Yeah, I bet he does.
We once went to...
night in as well, Les.
we went to Los Angeles pre-season tour once. And... After the first week, I said to Stuart Taylor was the number 2 goalkeeper. And I said to, "How's it going, Stu?" He says, "This is the best stag week I've ever had in my life." Train morning and afternoon, and then some of the lads, about 5 of them, they used to just hit Beverly Hills.
That's the life. Stuart Taylor and all. He played one game against Scunny.
Yeah.
That's what I want to be. You know what? The best job at a football club, third goalkeeper. Scott Carson is loving
Scott Carson.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, listen, Chappy, we'll need to start wrapping it up soon, my mate. You've been an absolute, like I said to you at the start, and I'll say it to the finish, an absolute legend. God, some stories.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
I don't think I've laughed so much on a podcast in a long time.
John,
I've got plenty more.
In the future.
I've got plenty more.
That's what I mean. Chappy Part 2.
Oh, go on, give us.
I've got. Do you want me to finish on one?
Yeah, absolutely.
That I did when I was a player.
Yeah, go on. Let's have a couple more before we finish.
Right. When I was at Preston, I was player assistant manager to John McGrath. I don't know whether you know about John McGrath, but he was a fearsome character. And we got in the playoffs. The first season, we got promotion. The second season, we got in the playoffs. And we were playing Port Vale. And he said to me, he said, I want you to take the players away to Frodsham for 3 or 4 days to relax them before this big game at the weekend. He says, I'm not coming. He says, if I come, they won't relax. They'll be on edge all the time. And I thought, yeah, you're right there. So we went to this hotel in Frodsham. We all met on 7 o'clock on Monday night at this hotel in Frodsham. And next to the hotel, the hotel was on a cliff. If you go to Chester from Manchester, it's off the M56, Frodsham, and it's on the top of a hill. There's a hotel, and next to the hotel was a nightclub. So the first night we're in the nightclub, and then we all met in reception on the morning for training. So we've set off behind the hotel. Behind the hotel was just mile after mile of fields and caves, believe it or not. There were caves there. So we set off through the fields, and I've said, right, stop, let's do some stretches. So we stopped for 5 minutes and we're doing these stretches, and I've said to the players, right, the training session this morning, because 1 or 2 were a bit worse for wear from the night before, I said, the training session this morning, give me 5 minutes, I'm going to set off and I'm going to hide, and you have to come and find me. So I said, all right then. So I've set off, running through the fields as quick as I can, and I've come across a cave. And I thought, right, I am now a caveman. So I've found a thick branch of a tree, took all my clothes off apart from my trainers, hid them under a bush and hid in the cave. Club in hand, waiting in the dark of this cave, waiting for the lads to come past. Now, 2 or 3 minutes had gone by, which is, I can tell you, a long time when you stood in a cave with nothing on. Anyway, so I hear this big noise, runs out, bloke walking his dog.
Oh!
Imagine what he must have thought. He saw me with no clothes on with the club in my hand. I've never seen a dog fly.
Oh my God.
And
That is the story to end on.
The lads just went back to the hotel after stealing my clothes.
Oh no!
I had to go back to the hotel with leads and all sorts tied around me.
Looking like a caveman.
The caveman. No, I was a goblin then.
Oh. I hope you went out to the
Chappy.
club afterwards. Crikey, dressed like that.
Oh, what? Sorry?
I hope you went out to the club dressed in leaves.
We lost the playoff, I know that.
Les, I'd love you to get on in a part 2 in the future.
Yeah, no problem.
Maybe an end of the season special when we win the league. You've heard it here first.
Well, let me just finish with this. City are, without question, miles the best team in the Premier League.
Yeah,
I would not surprise me if they win the league, the cup, League Cup, and probably the Champions League. If you look at all the stats for every game, they're way ahead of any other team. The only thing that will let them down is if they miss the numerous chances that they make. Apart from that, there's nobody will beat them.
Oh my days, Sheffield United just scored against Man U.
Oh. Don't start us. What a way to finish. Les, we're going to get you back on at the end of the season, pal, if that's all right.
Yeah, no problem. Just let me know.
We'll send you some trainers in a club.
Keane Bryan, didn't he used to play for City?
Who?
Keane Bryan.
Yeah.
He used to play for City, didn't he?
He was a kid, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, once a blue, always a blue.
Right, we're finishing there. Les, again, listen,
Les,
thanks
brilliant.
so much, pal.
Thank you. Pleasure.
All right, pal. Thanks for that. See
Bye-bye.
you later.
Cheers, pal. See you
Bye.
in a bit.